So Hangman Adam Page and Samoa Joe kicked off this week's episode of Dynamite, and it was a wonderful reminder that two things in professional wrestling can be true. Like last week, Samoa Joe getting a bit annoyed that he didn't get the tag properly was a little bit silly, but did AEW then follow up that brilliantly this evening? Yes, they did. Nuance in wrestling? Let's bring it back. Also, hello, my friends, and welcome to a Wednesday, because of course it was titled Tuesday last night, and I'm sure you're all excited to go and see the ratings for AEW NXT, and then rage on the internet, even though one day we're all going to be dead, and you probably shouldn't be getting mad about numbers. But let's not worry about that, and let's take the finger of power and give the good bits up and the bad bits down. If you do see this on Wednesday, I may see you later at the Hammersmith Apollo, that's right, where I am wrestling as part of Clash of the Comics, where I team up with a comedian to try and win. What could possibly go wrong? Let's up those doubts. Page made me laugh out loud as well when he started cutting his promo, because he was like, well, I've been in AEW 6 years and I've committed arson, I've dressed up as a Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, and I'm pretty sure on one occasion I got proposed to. I was like, all of those things are true. Then I kind of freaked out, because again, it has been 6 years. Where the flub did the time go? It kind of feels as well like the cops should have run at this point and just arrested him, given that he did just admit to committing a crime. So I guess we have to put a one on the crime counter. When he turned to Samoa Joe and he was like, yeah, I did think you acted a bit weird last week when I realized I heard those words that you said to me. You have never beaten me, Hangman Adam Page. And all of a sudden, it all became clear. He understands that Joe is a bit pissed off as well because his eye was taken off the prize as he was trying to stop the Death Riders, which allowed Hangman Adam Page to become the champion. And he knows he's not moaning, he knows he's not whining, he knows that he does owe Samoa Joe something, but that's not what this is about, because when they do go one-on-one at the pay-per-view, you ain't taking my title. Joe then took over and he decided to choose death because he made it very clear. Listen, Mr. Hangman Adam Page, I just want you to know, even though you do hold that belt around your waist, I don't think you're a champion. In fact, I think you're a fraud. Shots fired. Well, actually, he said pretender as if he was singing a Foo Fighters song when he was like, yeah, me and the Ops did help your ass on the road to All In, and it did mean that I wasn't focused on the World Championship, but I woke up one day and I was like, damn it, that's what wrestling is all about, so now I want it back. He also feels like Page's gratitude is absolutely fake. That's when I got to my first pondering. It's like, well, if that's the case, why did you choose to team up with him last week? You seem pretty happy. He then said he's going to beat, break, and torture Hangman. I was like, that feels a little bit too much when you could just beat him in a match. And essentially, at Wrestle Dream, he is going to choke out the cowboy, and that is going to be that. Well, yeah, it would do. It's basically murder. Adam then got confused. He was like, why do I have to keep proving myself in front of all of these legends? You know where the evidence is. It's in this ring, because every time I step into the squared circle, I absolutely deliver. I'm a postman. He then made it very clear that even if Samoa Joe does try to strangle him, he will not give up. And what he wants to happen is after he has successfully defended his title, he wants to shake Samoa Joe's hand because he respects the man and all is fair in love and war. Now, all of this was very damn good, and yes, as we've already talked about, I still think it was a little bit silly Billy to jump from last week to this. I think you could have stretched that over a few weeks, so it was more of a, oh, that's interesting. Samoa Joe seemed a little bit annoyed, and then you could have done something on this show as well. But when you have two dudes that can talk this well and just get you pumped up for a match, well, you do have to give it an up. Like, I don't think anyone truly believes that Samoa Joe can win, but everybody also knows that Samoa Joe is the absolute man and is essentially a modern day GOAT. I suppose until we get into a proper program with Hangman Adam Page, which we do need sooner or later, I mean, who better than Joe? I mean, he does also have a group called Samoa Joe and the Opportunities, so maybe he's just trying to set an example, but in terms of opening promos, couple of thumbs. The Conglomeration then did a big old chat because essentially every single one of them is in action over the next few days, apart from Mark Briscoe. And at first I was like, I cannot believe there's been no follow-up for Briscoe after he did beat MJF. But then we got later in the evening to Dynamite, and everything turns out okay. When it was Jon Moxley versus Ishii from New Japan, and of course they just kicked each other's ass. If you have 10 minutes a day, you should probably watch this, especially because the story of the match is Moxley being, I'm going to drop you on your head, Ishii. Ishii being like, well, I'm going to no-sell that. Look at me. I basically don't have a neck. I ain't gonna do nothing. I mean, Ishii even got thrown into the ring post at one point and just shook it off like he was Taylor Swift. And listen, this was just an absolute barrel of laughs. Although at one point, I think Ishii was bleeding from his nose. I was like, yeah, I'm not surprised. You two guys have been smacking each other in the face. He also kicked out of a pile driver and a paradigm shift, so I was laughing my ass off. Make sure you find somebody in your life in the same way that Tony Khan treats Ishii, when essentially Moxley was like, well, listen, I'm going to throttle you. And Ishii quite clearly hadn't got his 8 hours. Maybe he was jet lagged too. He passed out and John Moxley won. The whole time though, the commentators were like, oh my gosh, John Moxley's in the best shape of his life. How could anybody stop him? Which ties into his Wrestle Dream match with Darby Allin. So this did the job, just a barrel of laughs. Even though it did come out of nowhere, I had a good time. If I'm gonna have a good time watching wrestling, give it up. Renee Paquette then found the Young Bucks backstage because they were banging on Tony Khan's door because they needed another money match because Nick Jackson spent all their cash. I love this storyline. I think it's so much fun when Matt Jackson's like, listen, we are gonna be out there later watching the Jurassic Express, and the only way we were able to get seats was by selling some sneakers. The Young Bucks, man, they just totally get it. It just goes to show if you are an EVP, you better hold on to your position. We also got a really good video focusing on the feud between Chris Statlander and Tony Storm, and they did have a big promo lie-off of Collision. This was totally fine. When we went into a street fight, this made me laugh out loud too. It was the Hurt Syndicate taking on, forgotten their name again, the Gates of Agony Ricochet. Hang on, let me just look at my notes over there. The Demand, is that what they're called? The Demand? My brain, I need some sleep. Anyway, we did have a 6-man tag, and it was a street fight, and the Hurt Syndicate still came out in their suits, because I guess when they're walking around in real life, that's how they dress. I thought that was a very nice touch. Otherwise, it was just a plunder match with a bunch of weapons and people crashing into tables that would not break. At one point, Ricochet did a shooting star press, and he bounced off the wood. It was the most disgusting bump you've ever seen in your life. And then I think Toa Leona and MVP tried to sort the situation, and everybody just crashed down. It was like Humpty Dumpty. We also got some kendo stick Star Wars battles, because wrestlers love doing that. And otherwise, it was essentially, I'll hit you with a chair, I'll throw you through a table, I'll smack you around for a bit, we'll go outside, we'll use barricade, we'll use the ring post. And it was so easy and effortless to watch, even if deep down in your tum-tum you knew the Hurt Syndicate were going to win, because the Demand had won the last one. Wrestling. The Pain Fences even open the gates at one point, but actually the Hurt Syndicate kicked out of the 1-2. And the finish of this, essentially, Bishop Khan got destroyed, Toa Leona got destroyed, they were dead on the outside, but Ricochet looked around and he was like, oh man, it's 3-on-1. When Shelton Benjamin gave him a German suplex through a table. Take 30 seconds to watch the end sequence today. I even think on commentary, they were like, well, he's totally dead, and it looked that way. Obviously, the Hurt Syndicate got the 1-2-3, and you'd have to imagine they go after the trios belts now, although Cedric Alexander's TNA contract is also up, so we wait and see. I'm giving it an up. I just had a fun time watching it, man, even if it was absolute carnage. The non-Callis family then basically copied the Conglomeration because they had a big promo too, because a bunch of their guys are in matches as well, but that just stands to reason. Half the flipping roster is in the Don Callis family, so on any given night, they're probably going to be in at least 72 matches. When the Jurassic Express ruined some guys, of course, this was their big comeback, and I believe Jack Perry was called Jungle Jack Perry, so congratulations, Jim Ross, you had it your way. And the Young Bucks were watching on, but they were in the cheap seats, which is another just wonderful little tidbit to tie into this story, and they hit the extinction or whatever their flipping move is called. But it was just nice to see them back, because once again, AEW is 6 years old, so this felt nostalgic, which also freaked me out. But Luchasaurus and Jack Perry have had pretty tough 2025s, so sometimes you just need to look around the room and go, you know what, let hit reset. It was the right thing to do. Then the Young Bucks jumped them and beat the crap out of them. Now they're having a match at the pay-per-view. Give it up. Now I do have one tiny down, and I'm sure that AEW will actually address this soon, but it kind of ties into what we talked about with Eddie Kingston. I just think Jack Perry and Luchasaurus, to a degree, should have come out and cut a big old promo. We've been here, we've been there. This is why we have got back together. It's not the end of the world, and again, the down is just teeny tiny, and maybe that's just a Simon Miller thing, and I am an idiot. When you do get a big return, I just like somebody to have a microphone, because then I can emotionally connect with you, which makes me sound like a freak. The Death Riders then joined in with this promo battle because they were talking as well. This Pac-Man, he essentially said, hey, Orange Cassidy, I'm going to beat the orange off you, as everybody else jumped in as well, because essentially they hate everybody else in All Elite Wrestling, and if you cross us, we'll ride you into death. I mean, that is their name. They could probably make it their tagline. I really don't mind all these big groups in AEW either, because I've always told you wrestling is a bit like school, and when you were in school, you wanted people around you because there's safety in numbers. When we went right into our TNT title match, it was Kyle versus Kyle 2. I'm sure you remember round 1 as well, where the fans went nuts and just made all these chants up for Kyle, because of course they're both called Kyle. And we basically got the same vibe here, although it wasn't as electric. But as for the match, round of applause. Kyle Fletcher just gets better and better. Kyle O'Reilly, in terms of New Day wrestlers, is right up there. They've just got it down pat, man. They know what they're doing. They went at 100 miles an hour too. It was Kyle Fletcher hitting a flipping snap Michinoku driver, which calmed things down, which meant that O'Reilly booted Fletcher, so Fletcher booted O'Reilly. When eventually the TNT champion grabbed his opponent and threw him into the turnbuckle, he lawn darted him. That looked absolutely disgusting. O'Reilly the whole time was trying to pick the ankle as well, because of course if you can't walk, you can't move. And this did sort of work, because Kyle Fletcher got his drop Bayne buster, but even Brian Danielson on commentary was like, why aren't you making the pin? And it was because, he needed to revive his HP, which he did in the corner. He then ran, he booted Kyle O'Reilly right in the face when he scored with his, what's it called? Sheer drop brain buster, something like that. And he got the 1, 2, 3, and he is still the TNT champion. But Mark Briscoe came out after this. He looked at Kyle Fletcher, who backed away. Maybe he's a little bit scared. Now that actually came after Lance Archer, who was on commentary protecting Don Callis, had tried to beat everybody up, because that's what the Don Callis family likes to do. And right after this, Renee found Kyle Fletcher and was like, why did you run away from Mark Briscoe, you goober? And he was like, I've already beaten him twice, I don't care. So Renee was like, well, I read the record book, which doesn't really exist, but I know. He's beaten you twice as well, so can you believe it? Tony Khan has made the match at Wrestle Dream. It's you versus he for the TNT title. So it goes back to what we said earlier. I kind of think that Mark Briscoe should have challenged Kyle Fletcher right after the MJF match, but better late than never, but better never late. But for that match alone, I'm giving it an up. If you're into AEW, this is the kind of stuff you want to see. When it was actually Lacey Lane who answered Mercedes Moné challenge, and I really like this, because do not forget it means that Caden Carter may also be brought into AEW, and those two can go into the brand new women's tag team title scene. And if you are going to introduce brand new championships, you need a bunch of people. Now, of course, she didn't win, but bless AEW for having a video package here as they explained all the beats and how Lacey Lane wanted to challenge Mercedes Moné. And listen, there was no jeopardy in this. She was never going to come in and beat the TBS champion, who has held that title for around about 4,722 days. But it was a good back and forth. They had a surprise roll-up battle when Mercedes Moné hit the Moné maker. It didn't look too bad this time, because it usually works on people that are smaller than her, and she got the 1, 2, 3. She then looked at this belt and smiled at it in a way that I've never seen a human being smile at another human being. So I guess Mercedes is in love with her belt. It was a good debut for Lacey though, and she should be able to build off this too. Like in AEW, it's kind of different when somebody comes in at this level and loses, because 9 times out of 10 they do have something else, usually on Collision, so I am going to give it an up. When Sammy Guevara was the Beast Mortis and essentially said, hey Eddie Kingston, you're taking on the Beast on Collision and he's going to kill you, you should talk to your family. But one on the crying counter. Now Eddie and Hook responded to this and said, listen Beast Mortis, you've got to stop listening to this idiot. And yep, they're all probably going to fight this Saturday night. When we had a double elimination match thingamajig, I believe these were the rules, it was Takeshita and Okada taking on Bandido, Bandido, and if either Brody King or Bandido had made the pin, they would have become #1 contender for the Unified Championship, but if the Tongalis boys won, which they did do, they would become #1 contenders for the tag team titles. Sound good? Great. Now, Okada and Takeshita were having issues straight away because Okada cut off Takeshita's entrance. Takeshita was like, oh man, you are ruining my life. But there was a bunch of story throughout all of this, because you may have seen at the weekend, it was Bandido versus Hechicero in CMLL, and they did this whole shoulder injury angle, I think to tie into this match. So man, that forbidden door is more open than ever. And I think that is super duper cool. Like, it's not like the commentators ignored this. They told you, oh, he popped his shoulder out at the weekend. Well, he did have this match. And this is essentially why Bandido lost. I like this a lot. It actually meant at 1.2, Brody King was like, oh, I'm going to have to tag in. Look at this guy. He's been totally murked and he got beaten up for a while. When Bandido just took a bunch of med packs and he got the tag and he tried to run wild. And he ran wild a little bit, but when he tried for his 21-plex, his arm was all wibbly wobbly. So this is when Okada became such an asshole. He blind tagged Takeshita even though Takeshita was about to win with his knee. So Takeshita was like, fine, I'll hit my knee on Brody instead. When Okada hit this Death Rainmaker and he got the 1, 2, 3. This dude was the happiest man you've ever seen. They're absolutely going to break up, probably at Wrestle Dream, and probably when they are about to win the AEW Tag Team titles. Then Don Callis is going to get mad, but then Takeshita can become, well, a brand new babyface, I suppose, and you can probably get him to a tippity top level. Again, given what we expect from AEW, He's there already. And of course the work here was really good, but I just love the fact there was so much narrative in this. And I do hope we can find a team for Bandido, Bandido to feud with properly soon, because that's only going to help the tag team titles. But I'm going to give it an up. Solid stuff. We then got back and forth promos between Jet Speed and Willow Nightingale and FTR, and of course Jet Speed and Willow were like, "Ooh, we're going to win a match." When Stokely Hathaway was like, "Listen, Jet Speed, I do respect you a little bit because you are willing to step into the ring with FTR, but Willow, I am never going to respect you, and who needs hoes when you've got two bad bitches?" At first I thought he meant Cash and Dax, then Megan Bayne and Penelope Ford walked in, because Megan is going to be the third person. Like, I should have seen that coming. We only got this great backstage segment too with Brody King and Bandido. Because Bandido was all like, I did it, Brody King, it was me. I cost us the match. And while that was true, he was so sad. He was so sad it kind of made you go, "Oh, you masked man, it doesn't matter. Let's go out and I'll buy you an ice cream. These two now have to be friends for life." When we got to our main event, which again was pretty nostalgic, because it was Orange Cassidy versus Pac, and honestly, these two are incapable of having a bad match. This was brilliant, and given that it is Pac's first singles bout back, I believe that's true. 1, he started wearing a singlet, which is very weird, especially because 2, he's more jacked than ever. Orange Cassidy tried for the little kicks as well, but that pissed off Pac so much, he basically Falcon arrowed Orange Cassidy onto the floor. Then Orange Cassidy came back with a flurry, so Pac came back with all these amazing moves. It's their execution, it's their timing, it's just the way they move around the ring. Honestly, they're brilliant. In terms of bell-to-bell wrestlers, well, I think they are some of the best. Orange Cassidy eventually hit his dive as well. He'd been trying this over and over again. I mean, put at least a 3 on the counter. I missed so many dives during this recap, I've just remembered. And he got properly mad because at one point the piece of fruit went to the top rope and he splashed Pac through Timmy the Timekeeper's table as he laid there waiting to die. This felt like Pac was going, "We must make up for lost time." That's pretty nuts. Eventually Pac got out of the way as well by doing Orange Cassidy's slow roll thing, but he must have had a plan because he tombstoned Orange Cassidy on the outside, which is when it all went off because Darby Allin appeared. He handcuffed Pac on the outside, meaning Orange Cassidy got back in the ring. And Pac was like, "Well, great, now I'm going to be counted out. What do I do?" Well, because he has clearly been hitting the gym even more, he broke away from these cuffs. He got back in at like 9.999, and this finish was excellent. He basically flipped into the ring and right into the most devastating move in all the sports, an attempt surprise roll-up, and Cassidy got the 1, 2, 3. I'm just going to use that word again. The execution of it was bloody brilliant, mate. And now I'm Australian. Pac was so damn mad at Darby Allin, though, he ran at him. Darby Allin maced him, right? Stay with me for all of this, because that is 1 on the crime counter. Wheeler Yuta then ran out because he tried to get revenge, and Darby Allin used a taser. That's 2 on the crime counter. And then absolutely burst out laughing because the rest of the Death Riders were going to try and sort this. Darby Allin produced a Molotov cocktail, so put a 3 on the crime counter. It then got even funnier because the useless wrestling security decided we're not useless anymore. This one guy is going to have to get a contract. He speared Darby Allin so hard, I had to double check to make sure it wasn't Goldberg. Now, surely they are going to be using fire at the pay-per-view because this whole damn feud is about fire. And even though, quite rightly, Darby Allin got marched out of there, I assume to jail, he was smiling like the cat that got the cream because he is ready to kill John Moxley. Moxley was a bit like, "Yeah, I'm ready. I'm also very scared. I don't want to be set on fire." So as we talked about last week, of course, this was unhinged, and of course it was kind of daft, but why do you want to take that kind of stuff away from wrestling? I mean, listen, whatever is for you, but I actually think if this did happen, you would find sports entertainment pretty boring. I am giving it an up. I did like all the post-match actions, but it was the match itself. Pac and Orange Cassidy, man. They are underrated gems. Which brought us to the end of AEW Dynamite. It's one of those episodes where it's not the best thing you've ever seen, but it just does the job in building to the pay-per-view, and you kind of have stories for everybody. I do think we should probably involve more women on the show. That's kind of fallen away over the last couple of weeks, but I think we'll get back there too. Otherwise, though, I am going to give it an up. I enjoyed this week. Now, of course, please do tell me how wrong I am in the comments below. Before you like the video, share the video and subscribe. Click the video on the screen, which is ups and downs for Monday Night Raw. But otherwise, my friends, I appreciate you. I'll see you soon.